There was a Naiad named Lara, but her old name was the first syllable twice repeated, given to her to mark her failing. Alamo, the river god, often said, "Daughter, hold your tongue!" But she did not.
If you would like to learn about fairy folklore, delve into modern fairy faith spirituality, and explore fun and fanciful fairy-themed events, please subscribe to Fairy Fortunes for new videos every Friday.
Hello, my fair friends. I'm Ruby Ruse, and welcome to Fairy Fortunes. Today, I bring you another installment in my ABCs of Mythology series with L is for Lara and her children, the Lares. Now, for the purposes of this series, mythology is defined as a collection of stories which concerns the history of a people or cultural phenomenon that includes supernatural beings or elements. And because this is Fairy Fortunes, this particular series must include a fairy or fairy-like being. Lara was the daughter of the river Almond, which makes her a Naiad. So a Naiad is a type of a nymph. It's more of an umbrella term. So a Naiad is a nymph that is associated with a water source, and a Dryad is a nymph that is associated with specifically a tree or a land item. Now, Lara was supposed to be the daughter of Almond, and as far as I can tell, the Almond River is probably short for the Auli Acamond, which is over 185 miles and is one of the main rivers that runs through the country of Greece. Lara had more than just the name Lara. She's also known as Larunda, Tactia, Muta, and Mania. Now, the reasons for her final names of Muta and Mania are in relationship to her myth and story. So the main story of Lara can be found in the books of Ovid. Another nymph by the name of Jaturna was having an affair with the god Jupiter or Zeus, and Lara couldn't contain herself and went to Zeus's wife to tell about the affair with Jaturna. Zeus or Jupiter was so displeased with her that he took away her voice. Now, there's different stories onto how he did this. He might have removed her tongue. In other stories, she had her mouth sewn shut. And so that's where we get the now title of Muta, which is from the same root as the word mute, is that she could no longer communicate with her voice. She was then to be sent to the underworld, and the god Mercury was tasked with the job of taking Lara to the underworld. But he was so overcome with her beauty, even with her mouth sewn shut apparently, that they had a love affair, and from this joining with Mercury, Lara then gave birth to the spirits who are known as the Lares. Now, in some of the sources that I found, there were two twins born, but I could not find any specific names for them. They are just related to as the Lares. The Lares are considered various guardian spirits. Later on in Roman times, they became associated with the sacred dead. This association with the sacred dead might come from the fact that Lara was on her way to the underworld with Mercury, who is one of the gods of the underworld, in that he was the conveyor. He helped souls cross over. He was one of the only gods that could go in and out of the underworld freely without any complications or restrictions. So the Lares, children of Mercury and Lara, were associated with the underworld. So whole festivals in Roman times were dedicated to the sacred dead, and that was very much a part of their spiritual practice. So this is a very common practice in magical and occult and pagan practices, is to honor one's ancestors. I actually don't have much of an ancestor practice of my own. The best that I do is that I've done extensive research on my family, and I was gifted a bunch of pictures from my family which date back as far as the Civil War and beyond. So I have tried to do things with those pictures, but I don't give offerings, and I don't really do any specific worship or entreaties to my ancestors. But so I'm curious if you incorporate that into your practice. Maybe leave a comment about your practice with ancestors, and let's hold a discussion about that, because I am actually fascinated with this idea. So the Lares were very important spiritual beings to especially the Roman people, as the Romans actually had the practice of burying their dead in their own home until the practice was outlawed in about 4050 BCE. A Lares could also be a protector of a city or a protector of a crossroads. And there were many festivals that were associated with the Lares and their mother Lara. The first one that I found was called Compitalia. And this was held sometime after the festival of Saturnalia, in late December or in January. The festival of Compitalia was really a festival to celebrate the guardians of the city, and also people would take that as time to celebrate their family Lares as well. And in this, honey cakes were left at the statues or shrines of the crossroads. And the practice of hanging effigies in the doorway was practiced as well. And what scholars are now thinking that this came from is the festival of Compitalia was actually used by civil servants, the city officials, to do a census of every family. So instead of knocking on doors, what the census takers would do is that they would walk by each house and they would count the effigies in the doorways. So each family was supposed to have effigies for each person of the family. I also was able to find that there was actually a festival named for Lara, and that was Laurentalia. I would imagine that this festival, Laurentalia, was probably a day where there was maybe a practice of silence, or they used it as a teaching tool for young children to watch what they said. So I'm assuming that Laurentalia was a part of the greater Compitalia festival. There was also Parentalia, and was more specific to the honored dead. There was also Feralia, and please forgive me if I'm pronouncing these Roman and Greek words incorrectly, but Feralia was possibly the final day of the Compitalia Parentalia season, and this was a procession to the graves, and a feast would be given in honor of the dead. This actually is a practice that was a part of Western culture here in the United States up until fairly recently. We didn't necessarily in America have a specific festival where people would do a parade and have a feast for the dead, but up until the mid-1900s here in America, it was very common that on specific anniversaries, like a wedding anniversary, the death anniversary, the birthday of the person who had passed away, it was very common to go to the cemetery and have a picnic at the gravesite. And that's why when you go to some of these older cemeteries in the Western world, in America, they're very decorative. There's a lot of seating. The grave sites themselves are like picnic tables, and that was on purpose, is that was designed with the picnicking and the honoring of the dead in mind. However, now that we've entered into the 21st century, that practice really hasn't continued here in the United States, but I do believe that other countries have some kind of procession and some kinds of festivals to honor their dead. But sadly, here in America, we have gravitated away from that practice. And likewise, the Lares were also honored at important family events. So anytime that someone in the family had a birthday, or there was a marriage, or significant events like people being inducted into the military or being elected as an official to the Senate, these kinds of things, the Lares of the family were honored at that time. I found in my research that offerings to Lara specifically were poppies and garlic. And for the Lares themselves, the children of Lara and Mercury, a scattering of meal and grains of salt and bread soaked in wine. In the festival of Compitalia, people would come with violets and would leave them on a brick in the crossroads for the Laras of that crossroads. There are also some spells specifically associated with the Naiad Lara.
This is a spell that I came across in Fausti's Ovid, and it is a spell to protect you against gossip.
You start out by putting out 3 sticks of incense as you work. You take thread and enchant it by saying 4 unfriendly tongues. Then you place 7 black beans in your mouth and turn them about as you're working. Then you place the beans in the head of a sprat fish, which apparently is like a sardine or other small oily fish. And you take that enchanted thread that you have and you sew up the mouth of the fish.
Now, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I felt that that was a little bit more unsanitary than I really wanted to go right now. So I have modified this recipe. So instead of using black beans that were in my mouth, I have written down the spell on a piece of paper that I'm going to roll up, like rolling the beans around in your mouth. I'm going to roll up this piece of paper and place it inside the fish's mouth. The words used in Ovid are, "We have sealed up hostile mouths." So this is a spell to take care of any vicious gossip about you. We have sealed up hostile mouths.
Then you pour wine over the fish and bake it, and then you drink the rest of the wine. So I'm assuming that this spell would have been done as part of the Compitalia Laurentalia rituals, is that it would have been the oldest female member of the family that would be doing the work with the beans and the sewing up at the fish. I will have that recipe on my blog for you, so do check it out and let me know if you tried it. I tried it. It was okay. Maybe you will have more success.
I don't know. It stuck completely to the foil. I guess we should have greased it maybe. It completely fell apart. I couldn't. I don't want an eyeball! Oh my god, no! Do you feel protected against malicious gossip?
Very much so.
How does it taste?
Like a fish.
And we're supposed to have the wine. Would you like a little bit of wine?
Wine?
Yes, the wine that I poured on it. We're supposed to drink the wine. You have to drink the wine!
If you liked this video, I think that you would also enjoy the Hindu goddess Kadru, the mother of the Nagas, which is also a part of my ABCs of Mythology series. And with that, have a magical day.
Oh god, it has a tongue. Ah! Oh, I can't deal with it. I can't do it! Oh my god! Ah! Oh! It has teeth! Oh god! I can't do it! Oh god! Ah! Ah! Oh! This is awful! Oh my god! Oh lord! Get in there! Ew!
Get in there.